I'm a David Kiyoshi Tom. I played Ryan's father in the film. I'm Kerwin Berk, and I'm a filmmaker, born and raised in San Francisco. And my latest work was Kintsukuroi, which is going to be playing at the Films of Remembrance in Japantown. When I was growing up, again, your parents didn't talk about it, but you would learn these stories sort of through osmosis. So I've been sort of, I was a journalist for many years, and also writing, of course, in my spare time. And I've been taking sort of notes literally since I was a child about sort of the Japanese-American experience and how it affected people I knew personally, like neighbors, my mom. The basis for, the seed for these scenes are, a lot of them are based upon people I met or people who actually lived. There's a scene where Shig, for example, is being interviewed by an FBI agent. And we were about to shoot this, and we were setting up the shoot, and I talked to John Funabiki, who's an old friend from my journalism days, and John's father was in the MIS. And John also had a transcript of his father's interview with the FBI. And so he lent me the copy of it, and as I'm reading it, there were a lot of really interesting questions. So I pulled a lot of that out of the actual interview and inserted it into the scene, and then I gave the actors the new sides. So there's a lot. So John's dad is actually in that scene a lot. Well, we intentionally used some of the Dorothea images as a sort of a touchstone for scenes. Like the one we tried to really emulate was Satsuki Ina's mother in front of Gakuen. Some of the war scenes are actually composed to emulate some of the pictures that were taken of the 442nd soldiers. So yeah, we were directly trying to pay homage to those pictures and sort of subconsciously link our real history with the film. So a little like the Wizard of Oz, because we started out with just Ben and I and Sam doing sound. And as the shoots progressed and we kind of made it know we were shooting this project, we would get people on board. Just out of the blue, they would contact me. Paul Hara, Max, there's this guy named Greg who came on board, Brett Mifune. People just like, you know, I'd say, hey, if you want to come and work on this film, just, you know, show up on this day, and people would show up. And we went from the original 3 to probably about 8 on the crew. One of the hardest things to do with an indie film is to get extras, because you really can't pay them. And like, you know, it's a thankless job. It's not like you're in front of the camera a lot. Again, producers will tell you that adds to a certain production value that you don't get when you're shooting just in an empty restaurant or an empty church. When you watch Kintsukuroi, if you're look at it very closely, you will, and if you know Kikan, you will see some of the scenes that we used in Kikan. So it was a little tricky. I mean, everybody aged, 3 years. We lost a lot of people in the production. Anna moved down to Los Angeles, had 2 children. So there were a couple changes within the cast of crew. Luckily, we had Kealani, and she just did a wonderful performance. And she added, there was this sort of naivety in the beginning that as a character, she evolved it sort of into now a stronger woman.
Hi, I'm Kealani Kitaura, and I play Wendy Ito. So it's interesting because I take acting classes, and one of the theories of my class is your character is yourself in imaginary circumstances, but this is me in in something that actually happened. So I think there was kind of a gravity to that, and also the fact that all of my grandparents had experienced going to camp, and so playing somebody who had also gone to camp, I think it really resonated with me. Kerwin wrote Wendy, I think, in a way that I really related to. I feel like if I was placed in this place and time, I probably would have reacted very similarly to Wendy. I hope that I would have tried to stick up for what I believed in.
Ryan, of course, has been Jimmy Ibata for 6 years. I mean, he understands the character probably better than I do.
My name is Ryan Takemiya, and I played Jimmy Ibata in the film. I have some personal connections to the 442nd. My dad had an uncle who was in the 442nd. I never met him. He passed away before I was born. Growing up, I did spend a lot of time with the members of my family of that generation, the Nisei members of my family. He had been talking for a long time about wanting to turn this into a feature-length film. And we knew that the material itself was very meaningful and moving for people. So there was something there, not just artistically, but for the community as well. Well, it was very interesting because usually with an acting gig, you do your part in a few months and then you're done with it. To return to a part is always, it's pretty rare, but then to return to a part many years later is actually even more rare. So I had to, of course, rewatch Kikan and bring myself back to that place. But it was really a joy because I felt like there was more to explore with the character. You know, we tend to think of World War II as a very long time ago, ages ago, right? Ancient history. But there are folks who are still alive who experienced it. And we also tend to put those folks up on a pedestal. We tend to think of them as untouchable or as gods almost, or heroes who experience this. But they're real people. They, we know a lot of these folks. A lot of these folks are in our families. We've met them, and they're just real regular people. So I wanted to one of the main things is I just wanted to show how regular Jimmy was.
And so I guess the message for the film, part of the message of the film was that this story is our communal history. It's one story within our communal history. And I think that the people who watch it understand sort of the longer story arc. Their individual story will deviate from what they see on the screen, but they get sort of the general sense of it. So I think this film at this time it sends a message of, don't do this again. And although the film is uniquely about Japanese Americans, I think on a broader sense it's a cautionary tale about anyone who's different, anyone who doesn't quite fit in, and how you can be targeted. These rights are guaranteed under our Constitution, yet they can be revoked, at a moment's notice.
Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun?